2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How much of my fear in moving forward is because of my own baggage?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, how's it going, man?
It's going. It's going good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for covering for me last week.
Oh, I'm happy to. You know, you got a wild, adventurous life to live. I gotta support you in every way I can. If I can die one day and be like, my brother lived a great life, then I will have lived a great life.
Oh, gosh. That sounds codependent, actually.
No, that's pure love.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate you taking the time to visit. I just listened to the episodes. I wish I was there with you because we had a couple of really good guests on too.
Great guests. Yeah, a couple of really good guests. And I just want to say thank you to all the guests that come on, because they're the ones that make the show. They're the ones coming on being extremely vulnerable. Opening up, in a public forum like this, it takes some courage. And all of them, the guys that I talk to, but the guests that have ever been on, like they're the best. I really appreciate them.
Yes, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you to our guests, because you do make this show.
Yes. Speaking of guests, we have one with us today. So Jen, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
If you could tell us a little bit of what's going on, give us a little bit of background, and we'll go from there.
Do you want family of origin or just marriage?
You know what? Give us a little of the family of origin. We don't need full autobiography of your life, but we need enough pieces to the puzzle to understand what's happening.
Okay. So was raised in one of those perfect on the outside, dysfunctional on the inside families. I'm the third child, first girl. My parents had not a very great relationship. And I used to sympathize with my dad and blame my mom for it, kind of. When I got older, I realized there was a lot of reason. I mean, she was in betrayal trauma, and she had no way to get out of it. And anyway, so there was a lot about appearances and perfection and why am I drawing a blank? Just a lot of focus on doing the right thing, but not for a very good reason. Just like I said, just checking boxes. And then I go to college and kind of work out of it. I served a mission and was in a pretty good place. I was kind of older at that point, mid-20s, and feeling like I'm not going to ever get married, which is stupid to think of when you're 26, but that's how it was. Anyway, I met my husband, and it was very, very fast. Like, met him 2 months later, got engaged. 3 months later, we were married. And anyway, gosh, why am I just totally having a hard time here?
You're doing great.
So I didn't know he had a porn problem before we were married, and but several months after being married, after the wedding, he was like, "Hey, I have a porn problem," from a very young age. I thought marriage would fix it. It didn't. Should I go talk to the bishop? And I was so shocked. I didn't know what to, nobody knew what to do back then. And I didn't really say anything. And then he walked out of the room and never talked about it again. And I would see things on the computer once in a while. Sometimes he would deny it. Sometimes he would say, yeah, or, minimize it, always minimizing. And we moved to a place that it was on the coast and beaches and girls in bikinis, and he would just stare at them, not even trying to hide. He's not one of those that's super good at hiding. He would just unabashedly just stare, and I would feel but supposed to be the good wife, but I'm not supposed to nag. And so that's so anyway. So I had a lot of issues with that, with him objectifying girls, and then he had an emotional affair, and then there was physical abuse of the kids, and just a lot of resentment. We would make decisions. He wouldn't want to make them about where we moved a lot for his work, and I would make the calls for where to live because he didn't want to make any of those decisions, but then I would get blamed for anything that went wrong. And anyway, there was a lot of anxiety. He hates the unknowns. He felt like I was pushing him into more expensive places than he wanted to live. And we basically were flipping houses. We would live there for 2 years. I would fix it up. I'm really good with my hands. I have a lot of talents in that area. And so over the years, we've been able to make a lot of sweat equity with our properties, buying, selling, but every time he would really resent me for it and not recognize my contributions. He would just hate me for putting him into this situation of spending money. And anyway, man. So as we've gone through, we've been married for 20 plus years, and he's been white knuckling. He quit looking at porn about 10 years ago, and now he's like, what is your problem? Why can't you get over this? You know, you're the problem, not me. I mean, that's the message that I get. And like, he has heart attack symptoms, and that's my fault. And he goes to his family, and they're like, she's not treating you right. You know, so he's getting a lot of validation from them. Oh, P.S. He's the golden child of their family. Like literally, I was told before I married him, he's perfect, like literally perfect. So if you ever have problems in your marriage, it's because of you, not him. And so he's gone through our marriage feeling like the victim, and I'm the one who's ruining his life.
Jen, why? So two questions. One is, how long have you been unhappy in the marriage? And the second follow-up question to that is, why are you still married?
I didn't, pretty much from the honeymoon, I felt like I have made a mistake. But because he was a different person, like, well, for one, I didn't even know him. I really did not know him. We didn't even spend very much time together before we were married, because we lived 4 hours apart. And this was pre-cell phones, pre-inexpensive calling. And, you know, I thought he was an emotionally stable person. And because looking back, I can see all these things. Like, my dad was financially irresponsible. And so that was one of the big things, was I need to marry someone who is, who has a stable income, who has stability. Financial stability was important to me. And I thought he was emotionally stable. I knew I was kind of an emotional person. And then we get married, and I find out that he's not emotionally stable at all. And, but, you know, the deal's done. I'm throwing myself into being a good wife and mother. It's what I had always wanted to be. And so, so I threw myself into it. But by about year 6 or 7, after the emotional affair with the coworker that he denied and, you know, totally didn't even acknowledge, I had come to the conclusion that I was done trying. I was done faking. And so I had pretty much convinced myself that that it was a mistake at that point. And then I was mad at God, because why didn't he stop me? And what was the second question?
Just why are you still married?
Why? Yeah. For the kids. For I didn't have, if I had left, I wouldn't have had a place to go. I have a college degree, but it is a useless degree. And my parents had since, so found out about 10 years into our marriage, I found out that my dad had been having affairs for 5 years. Because my mom was sick with Parkinson's and was anyway, he was having a big midlife crisis. And yeah, so he was cheating on my mom. And so they got divorced, and then she has early onset Parkinson's, and so then the kids became responsible for caring for her. And anyway, so that was a big blow. Okay, so why am I still married? Yes, because I was afraid of what that would mean. I didn't want to do that to my kids, and I had nowhere to go.
Yeah. I'm hearing you say there's just not much stability otherwise, and so it's scary to get divorced or make a change. With everything going on with your parents, with just like there's nothing there. That's what I'm kind of hearing you say. So.
Yeah. And another important piece to this is that my mission president of all people, on our exit interviews, got the sister missionaries together in a room and gave us advice about life and about marriage. And one of those things was, don't ever say no to your husband, because if you do, he'll go elsewhere.
Great advice, President.
Yeah. So that, that was how it was 17 years before I realized that was not okay.
Yeah.
And so I just have a ton of I felt like a prostitute because I was not interested, but I couldn't say no. And he, objectified women. So like he had no clue that, anyway, there's a lot of baggage in that arena too. And so like now I'm trying to get over everything, and I'm trying to forgive, and I just can't imagine having a sexual relationship that is what it's supposed to be, because it was never, it was never that way.
Can I ask you just another question, just relationally? How do you guys communicate? I mean, do you guys talk about any of the stuff that you're sharing with us right now? Can you talk openly about these feelings, or is this all kind of done in code or under the surface, or not at all?
Historically, we just don't talk about anything, like, because he always feels like I'm attacking him. And so, like, talking about sex, forget it. Like, that's not even up until recently. But like, I mean, right now I am not sleeping with him. And it's been like that for well, for years, a lot of the time, I didn't have the guts to say no because I didn't think I could say no. I didn't think I had a choice. And so I would do other things like stay up really late and hope that he was asleep by the time I went to bed, or, like not communicating. What was your man? I am so scatterbrained.
No, you're okay. You're answering the question. My question was like the stuff that you're sharing here. I'm trying to piece together a few things and a few things that I'm hearing, and that's why I was asking the question. Is that on one hand we're here to talk about. You're almost in like a state of discernment of what's the right next course of action for me, and I'm having a lot of confusion about that. And some of the things that you're having sort of like teased to the surface would be the kinds of things that would make the next choices hard to make. So what I'm hearing is that there's a theme, several themes in your relationship and in your personal life that are kind of almost stacking on top of each other. It's almost like there's like one scar layered over another scar layered over another scar. And so it's hard for you to even access your heart. Number one, to know what decisions to make, and number two, to be able to have it soften or open towards him in the relationship if you're choosing to stay. And some of those layers that are already starting to tease themselves up are that you've been living your whole marriage in a state of doubt, a state of fear. And that's added to it with then resentments that have cropped up on both sides, maybe because of a lack of communication, sometimes feeling trapped, and then struggling with this place of like trying to find forgiveness and softening of your heart. And if all of those things are kind of adding on top of each other, you can almost picture callus after callus after callus being placed over your own heart. So it would make sense why you're then feeling confused about what next steps or direction you need to be taking with your life.
Yeah, I have a lot of walls, a ton of walls, because I've kind of just been like, this is reality. The only way I'm going to get through it is to just close, lower expectations, close off my heart, and just, try not to involve him. He gets so stressed about stuff that historically it's just been like, well, I guess I'm doing everything, like I make the decisions, I do all the work around the house, I do all the yard work, I run the show, everything. I take care of the kids, like he works hard. He's a good provider, but like I manage everything. And sorry, what?
Oh, no, go ahead, Jen. Sorry. I don't want to cut you off.
He would always just habitually say, I love you, but it never meant anything. It didn't mean anything. And so I stopped saying it, and he got pretty upset about that. And then a long time ago, I was like, what does that even mean to you? You say it, it doesn't feel like what do you love about me? And he just looked at me blankly, like, well, he didn't think of a single thing. And then he's like, well, because you're my wife. So, just like, there are so many good things about me, and he can't think of a single one. Like the only thing he ever used to say is, oh, you're pretty. You're pretty. Oh, okay, great. I'm glad you think I'm pretty. But what else? Like I always, excuse me. I always thought that I would marry someone who would appreciate and love me for who I am, and not what I look like. So, and it's not like I'm like drop dead gorgeous, but anyway, and so I would stop saying I love you, and then he would get like mad, like he would just yell at me about how much that hurt. And And, what do you say to that?
Jen, I want to say something, and I want to say it kind of carefully here. It sounds like both he and you are in a perpetual state of victim to each other.
Yes.
And it's the worst case scenario because it's like resentment, it's stuckness. It's like I'm so trapped and so miserable, but I can't leave. And it's hard to tell somebody who has been blamed a lot, which you have, for all of the problems in your relationship when you're married to a family hero and a Mr. Nice Guy. And it's hard to tell you, Jen, that you absolutely have a part in this, and that you can get out of this state of victim regardless of him. That you can learn how to show up powerful and not stay stuck in weakness. But in order to do so, the dynamic of you just kind of being gaslit, or you're kind of crazy making, wondering if you're bad or good or okay, and he's kind of a voice of that, you need to separate from him. You got to separate that out from him and focus on you, and get clear with who you are. What are your truths? What is your intuition telling you? What are your boundaries? And get and fortify yourself so that when you do show up in that truth, when the consequences come, that you can stay grounded and at peace and continue to move forward, and then turn your will and your life over to the care of God. Right now, it's over to the care of you protecting this and trying to control things to have all the things that you want in your life, right?
Yeah.
And as long as you do that, you're going to stay stuck where you're stuck. So what do you think about what I'm saying, Jen?
Oh, absolutely. I know that historically I have absolutely felt like the victim, and resentment is probably, because I was thinking, what's one word that would describe our marriage, and it would be resentment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've both started to realize, I'm understanding now. I've been doing a ton of work, a ton of research and learning. And, when you feel resentment, that indicates that there is a boundary or a boundary being crossed, or a value that's not being honored. Yeah. And yes.
But Jen, think about how complicated that is. It's like, oh, he wants to have sex with me, but I have zero desire. But my mission president told me that I have to, so I guess I have to. But there's that resentment. And so are you strong enough to listen to yourself to say, even if the mission president told me this, even if all the guilt and shame and should and everything told me this, can I be honest with myself about what works for me and what doesn't? And this is just an example to help you see how difficult it can be to actually step in to your truths.
Well, Brannon, if you add to that, some of the backstory that we got from Jen as well is that she was basically raised in a home where appearances mattered and perfection to perform for others was at the top priority in the family system. You get that as a core belief as a young child that then gets stacked on with the other messages, like this is what you have to do to be a good wife, and this is what a good person does, and this is this. Pretty soon you can hear a whole life that's geared towards getting the approval of other people.
Tyler, can I add one in? In the meantime, Sure. You got a dad who is completely manipulating and blaming mom and gaslighting mom like crazy. And so I can see, add that in the mix of all these messages, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm scared that I'm going to be the bad one. I'm going to be the one that, is the problem and all these things. Right?
Yeah. And then there's a life that now, and you hear about this, the self-protection has become a series of internal boundaries based off of judgment and fear of what other people are going to think, that has led to a constantly increasing, shrinking prison cell emotionally that you're living with inside of your own relationship. And what's interesting here is we always talk about Mr. Nice Guys being married to a Mr. Nice Guy. There's actually I think, Jen, that's maybe one of the biggest struggles that you have is you value not hurting other people. You value not, caring for other people's feelings. You also value not being rejected by other people. And the very thing that needs to take place now is for you to learn how to have a voice about the truths about what you're actually feeling, knowing that you might actually hit some nerves inside of your husband when you start speaking the things that you're feeling, and having to deal with the fact that your other value of not hurting his feelings is now kind of right up against and in conflict with this idea of I can no longer not have a voice here, because every time I don't have a voice, every time I bury it or try to please or try to placate or whatever else, it pushes me further into that place of resentment. And so now I'm fighting an uphill battle with what I was taught growing up, with what my value system is on one hand, and now I've got this resentment inside of me that's speaking something, saying, but you got to have a voice here, and you got to get to a place of honesty. Like, he's maybe had issues with not speaking or honesty or covering stuff up or minimizing and having a way of curating his life. But that's also, I think, one of the biggest rubs that you have right now is honesty with him about where you're at too.
Yeah. And in recent, like, excuse me. So we've done therapeutic disclosure. I wrote a big, huge impact statement and told him, a lot of that stuff. So finally, and before I was afraid, like I was managing, I was curating. I was afraid to say what I really felt. We're starting to get into that more. I'm starting to be more honest. I do have a lot more boundaries. I'm kind of, that pendulatic swing where someone is like oppressed and then they're like, wait a minute, this isn't right. I don't have to take this. And so then I'm kind of at this point where I'm just like, I'm not taking any of your crap. I am not taking responsibility for, anything. I'm not going to give you validation. I am not going, I'm kind of a little too far the other way in terms of like, I am not taking this. But it's like, he's at a point now where I think he actually is truly changing, but I'm still in the suspicious, like, how long is this going to last this time? You know what I mean? Just like I'm not trusting. But part of that is because he'll say, oh yeah, I'm changing. And then I'll overhear something and he's thrown me under the bus again. But it's very subtle. Like he presents it like, yeah, I'm, she has every right to be upset, or yeah, she's so great, and look at me,
that's
so
the
forgiving.
Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, well, it's just, what am I trying to say? He'll say one thing, but the underlying meaning is different. The underlying meaning is, look at me, look how patient and tolerant I am to my wife who's out of line and ridiculous. Do you know what I'm saying? But he never says it out loud. He never says my wife is being ridiculous. He says, oh, I'm just trying to make her happy. And, it's okay. I'll give up what I want for her.
Jen, this is what I'm talking about, separating yourself from him. So like if he's playing those games or if he's not, that doesn't matter. For you to trust yourself and know yourself is important. And for you to be honest with him, and he can react or respond or blame or do whatever he needs to. But if you're just honest with him about who you are, I want to share one story with you and then give you a little an analogy. I had started my practice, and I was wondering if I was going to make it or not as a therapist. And I finally turned the corner, and I started getting clients, and I started getting more clients than I could handle. And right at that time, almost exactly at that time, my wife had our third child. So we had 3 kids under the age of 5, and one of them a newborn. And so here I was excited that my practice was working and it was taking off. And so I was doing way too much therapy. I was working way long hours. I'd go on family vacations and take my computer and do therapy for 5 hours during the day while we're on a family vacation. And it's hard work. It's difficult. It was challenging. I'd get burned out. I loved it and I hated it at the same time. And I didn't have much to give her. And she was going through her own postpartum stuff. And it was hard. It was really hard because she was at home, a young mom trying to figure it out and completely overwhelmed. And I had a day where I had like 10 therapy appointments, and I got home. It's probably 6 or 7 at night, and we got in a fight. I know therapists never fight with their spouses, but we did somehow. And this fight blew up, and it took a turn, and where it took was her and I both like being very honest and saying, this sucks. I don't want to be married to you. This is awful. This is not what I want. And like this, it felt so good to say that. And it felt good for her and it felt good for me because and really it was such a good moment for us because we just got really honest about how miserable we were. And this was over a decade ago. And I still remember it so clearly because I thought to myself, I thought like it's good to not get to that point, which it's good not to get to that point. But there was another part of me that wanted to just trudge through and pretend like we weren't there. And when she could open up and say, this freaking sucks. And when I could open up and say, this is not what I want. That's when we finally started looking at this and saying, okay, what changes do we need to make? What needs to shift here? Because there was some honesty there between the two of us. So do you see how this applies to you, Jen?
Yeah. In the past, if I have ever said anything, he immediately has jumped to, well, then what are we doing? Let's just get a divorce. You know, like it instantly to the divorce wagon.
So he holds that over your head, right? And this is where you could say, well, I need these things or else we do need to get a divorce. Like these basic values of mine that are important. And he'll say, okay, fine. And what he's doing, do you see what he's doing?
It's my fault.
Yeah. It's a turn the table back on you, right? Which if you believe that, if you believe that you're like your mom and he's like your dad and that you're the bad person and that you're the problem and that if you believe that, then he'll have all that power over you.
And I did believe it for years, like years. And there was even, I was suicidal. I was like, the world would be, I just need to get out of the way so that he can find someone who is a better wife and a better mother. Because at the time I didn't know it, but I had complete betrayal trauma and was completely shutting down. And he had abused our kids and I physically, and because he has, he buries it, and then blows up. And he was very rough on the kids. And I told my therapist and he got reported and he didn't get promoted. And we had to move. And he came home that day and said, what do you think you're doing? Don't you realize what you've done? If I lose my job and we lose this house, this is all on you. And I took that and I believed that for the next 7 years until I finally was like, no, it's not my fault. Anyway, so we have gotten a lot more honest. I have stood up for myself a lot more. He is trying to change. And so part of me is feeling guilty for, just like, why can't I why can't I forgive him? And, and get over it and get to a healthier place. He keeps on wanting to do marriage counseling.
Jen, I think there's a catch-22 going on here. If he gets healthy, if he gets better and better, which sounds like he's doing his work, then that puts more pressure on you to connect with him.
Yeah, and I'm scared too, because even if he gets better, man, excuse me, even if he gets better emotionally and, he works through his stuff, yeah, is he gonna fundamentally change his, you know what I mean? Like, we were never even good friends before we got married. Like, we don't, how some people are like, oh, well, let's go back to how we were when we were dating. We were so in love and got along so well. But I don't even, or I know I was supposed to marry him. God told me I was supposed to marry him. I don't have any of that.
Right. I mean, I think there's a piece of your heart that really just doesn't want to connect with him.
Yeah.
Right. So
the challenge here is, finding yourself in this catch-22, especially the old belief system would say that if he does his work, then you have to stay and you have to somehow figure out how to love him. All that pressure that you feel from the old way of believing, which is make sure everybody's happy with you and make sure everybody's pleased, is actually going to continue to shut you down. It's going to lay another layer of those calluses over the scars of your heart. And so part of the pathway forward here, and I think this is where Brannon's story was coming in so importantly, is until both of you guys can be on an honest page of where things are at, you're not going to be able to then start to take the steps you need to start peeling back the layers of those scars on your heart.
Yeah.
And if the pressure to hurry and fix the marriage is the primary focus, the only way you're going to be able to get to the marriage is through the honest work of the scars that are laid over the top, because you don't even know if you have those feelings or could have those feelings for him right now, because there's such a history of betraying your own values, being blamed by him, then having those, all of that stuff, the fear, the resentment, feeling trapped. You're going to have to start taking a step at a time towards attending to those things in your own heart. And as you peel those things back, you'll be faced with another set of decisions of the new reality. So let's say you dive in and you go, you know what? I'm going to really go to work on these resentments that I have. And in order for me to not resent him, I'm going to have to start protecting my values in this, and this way, which means I'm probably going to be met with multiple occasions of, well, why are we still doing this? Let's just get divorced. And then you'll have to have that conversation and say, well, I'm not ready to make that decision yet, but that's a possibility. There's also this possibility and this possibility and this possibility and this possibility. And I'm going to systematically work on my stuff until I can figure out which one of those feels right for me. Then you start peeling back the next thing, which is, okay, I'm feeling trapped. What do I need to do to not feel trapped here? I need to go get myself in a place where if I did have to divorce, I knew I'd take care of myself and that I am not actually trapped. And what's interesting is that when you take care of the trapped feeling, the pressure starts to come off even more and you see more clearly, and then you can make more clear of a decision, whether that's to stay or to go. And as you work on each of those individual things, you're actually working towards that discernment you're trying to find in your own marriage as to whether to stay or to go. And maybe the right answer at the end of the day is that, you know what? It was never the right thing, although I believe that it has to be the right thing now because it is what it is. I believe good things come out of those things. There's still meaning and purpose, but maybe at the end of the day, you guys aren't meant to stay together, but you'll be making that decision from a place of connection to your heart and peace rather than this place of exasperation and fear and doubt and shame and pressure.
My favorite scripture: God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I got in a discussion this week, Tyler, with my neighbor about, I was saying to him, all of our suffering, not our pain, all of our suffering comes from us being out of alignment with our integrity. Like, and if we can shift back into reality, shift back into truth, then we don't suffer. It might be painful to do so, but we don't suffer. And, Jen, I think of like institutionalization, like getting institutionalized. Criminals will get out of prison and reoffend quickly. And why? They reoffend quickly because it's vulnerable and scary to be on the outside. If you're a prisoner of war, you might be safer in that prison where you're being fed scraps than on the battlefield. And so you're hanging out in that prison, like, okay, I'll take these scraps. Like, at least I'm not being shot at. And Jen, I think there's a big part of your heart and your soul that's saying, get on the freaking battlefield, get out of the prison, face the light of the sun, the bullets flying all around you. Wherever you're going to land, you're going to land. You may die. Your marriage may die, but at least you're on the battlefield. Versus staying stuck in that prison, right? Jen, I just want to thank you for coming on today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We're kind of getting close to time here, Jen. Is there anything else on your mind or your heart that needs to be spoken today?
I feel like I'm just in a hamster wheel. Do you know what I mean? Like,
nobody will get you out but you, Jen. You and God.
Yeah, I think I need. Man, I think top priority is for me to just like work on healing from all the past trauma so that I can have a clear head. Like, I guess I keep on feeling rushed. I feel like I'm in a hurry because, it's not a marriage to not have sexual intimacy. We're not having sexual intimacy, but I'm feeling like he's like, okay, let's work on, let's go do marriage counseling so that, with the goal of, getting back to having a real marriage. And so I'm feeling pressure, but part of me is just like, there's so much that I have to heal first, but that's going to take a long time. And I don't know.
I think Jen, maybe the very first step, if you're capable of this, is to actually create some space for yourself to do that in the relationship by being honest with where you're at. Mm-hmm. Like Brannon was saying, go and say this. I do need some space and time to work on some things here. I feel a lot of pressure. I know you're wanting to get back to a good marriage. I also want a good marriage, but my heart's not even in that same realm right now. And so that's why Brannon keeps saying I need to separate myself from him. He's not saying you guys necessarily need a separation, but that might be the case. I have to separate where I'm at, and I actually need to start attending to my own heart here. So the question now on any decision that I make moving forward is that word integrity. Every time I feel the pressure that I've been feeling from him or from other people or from my religious space or whatever else it is, and I feel this compulsion or impulse to go and have to perform in a certain way, it doesn't mean you don't not go do that. It means you have to pause and then ask yourself, in my integrity, is this an effective thing for me to do today? And then be honest with your own integrity so that you can live in that honesty, because in the honesty is where you can make the next best choices. And that's going to be, that's probably something you'll do 20, 30, 40 times in a day sometimes. Oh, there's a fear. Oh, there's a compulsion. Oh, there's a shame. Okay, in my integrity, not all this other stuff that I've been compelled to do before, but in my integrity, is this the right thing to do or say or be today? And I'm going to take that one step, one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. And then hopefully you got some support for people who know what you're trying to do, which is to try to live a wholehearted, congruent life full of integrity. And hopefully you're married to a man who, I don't know, he'll probably listen to this eventually or something, that will understand that the only way he can ever have what he wants in a relationship with his wife is when there's safety for both people to be their authentic selves. So hopefully he would be willing to create that space too.
Yeah.
Jen, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to this when it comes out and just kind of hear the things that we've said today. Just in the future, just kind of listen to it. Again, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate having you. You guys, if this was helpful, then please, in the reviews, leave Jen a message and say thank you to her. And until next time, keep on keeping on.